Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. This is Dave. I'm Dave. My name tag right here on my shirt says Dave. I do that because I want to remember who I am and I want to remember who you are. And I'm so happy that you were back again. This is like episode 154. And I'm loving this. It is November of 2023 as I'm recording this. And every November for the last 16 years, there's been a thing called National Podcast Post Month, aka, also known as, NaPodPoMo, which is fun to say. You should say that in a group. Get together with 5 of your best friends and say the word NaPodPoMo. Now, doesn't that make you feel all warm and fuzzy inside? Well, it does for me, because we are doing 30 episodes in a row. Yes, in a row. And that's kind of a big thing, right? It's kind of a big deal. So it's part of this thing where podcasters are getting together. They're releasing daily episodes for the month of November. And this challenge put out to us. And if you haven't participated this year, what I would love for you to do next year, and if you're listening to this next year, then this year, I want you to participate, is I want you to plan out 30 episodes. And you're like, oh my gosh, Dave, I do like 20, 25 episodes a year. And you want me to do a whole year's worth of content in a month? Mm-hmm. Yep, I do. Why? Because it's a good way to practice. It's a good way to get better. And the more you do something, the better you get at it, right? Did you ride your bike once when you were a child and now you're an expert? No, you practice, you fall down, you get up, you scrape your knee, you do all those things. So the more practice you get, the better you become as a podcaster. This whole idea of doing a podcast a day, every day for a month, may seem daunting, but you don't have to do, well, what I'm doing is like 30 to 45 minute episodes for every day in the month of November. I just have a huge backlog of finished episodes that I'm trying to push out into the world. So for me, it's a great way to kind of clean out my backlog of amazing guests and podcast episodes. So this is actually quite timely for me. I get to get everything out by the end of the year because I want to start fresh in 2024 and keep moving forward with great podcast guests and great episodes for you. That's why I'm doing it. You can do simple things like, for example, just do like a 5-minute episode. You could take your 4 points that you would normally cover in one episode and make 4 episodes of that. On a side note, you could do that any month of the year, not just November. If you have a guest on and you talk about something and you can divide them into 4 distinct podcast episodes, it might be a little bit of editing that you have to do in the background to make this happen. But you could take one piece of content and slice and dice it into multiple episodes, which then means one interview could be your podcast content for the entire month, all at one time. And if you're thinking, well, that's why I do seasons, Dave, so I can take time off. What if you didn't have to do that? What if you could do 12 interviews? Or maybe, let's say, 6 interviews. Cut those up into pieces and then also just do some little short solo episodes. What I really like is the idea that I heard recently was to have an interview on one week, on the odd weeks, and on the even weeks, do a reflection on the past interview. So you have me on as a guest. We talk about how podcasting can change your world and how community can be built through podcasting, and that everyone has a voice and no one has to be excluded from podcasting. We have a great conversation. So you release that on your odd week, and then your even week, you come back, and then you, as the host, refer back to the episode and you share your thoughts as you reflect on what happened in the interview. And you're not creating anything new, but your audience gets to hear you, and you get to have a conversation with your audience. So you don't have to have 4 interviews in a month. You can have one interview your reflection. Another interview, your reflection. So really, you're only creating 2 episodes a month, and you're not creating anything new. You're just calling back to a past interview and giving your thoughts and your reflections. What a great way to build out more content. And maybe you don't need to take a season approach. Maybe you can release a weekly podcast or every second week. You can do that. So think about that as an alternative to seasons. Back to the NaPodPoMo, which made you smile. I know you smiled right there. Having the 30 episodes in a month, I'm really seeing some great engagement through my analytics. I'm seeing an uptick in listenership. I know that I'm drowning you in content. I realize that. And you can listen to this podcast anytime you want. I was listening to a message from one of the listeners this week, and I did an episode for them. Hey, PT. And I just wanted to thank them for their message. And I created a new episode for them, but they were unaware of that because they're way back, like episode 1, 2, 10, 20. They're at the beginning of the How to Podcast series. Wow. That's amazing. So they didn't even realize there was an episode just for them newly uploaded. So people are going to fall in love with your podcast, and this idea of creating content for the entire month, I know it's a big ask, but I'm putting it out there, and I want you to do some future planning. And you're like, well, Dave, I missed November, but I love the idea of doing a podcast a day, every day for the month. Then just pick a different month and do it that month. Make up your own NaPodPoMo. Every time I say that, you need to have a sip of your coffee, by the way. NaPodPoMo. We're going to get very deep, very caffeinated here as we drink, and I'm having a sip right now. NaPodPoMo, again, is an amazing way to get your voice out there. On a completely different topic, I want to say thank you to you for supporting the podcast. Because of you, and completely thanks to you, I've had some very generous listeners, past guests, friends of the podcast who have gone out and purchased or bought me a coffee through my Buy Me a Coffee link, which is in the show notes if you're interested. And thank you. And because of you, I've now been able to upgrade my SpeakPipe from a 90-second limit per message and limited storage. I've been able to upgrade. So because of you, now you can leave me a longer message. I've had people doing their SpeakPipe message, and they're like, Dave, I want to thank you for your show, and I want to tell you about the... And that's like, oh no, I didn't get all of the message because 90 seconds and you get cut off. SpeakPipe is a great tool, and I'm going to do an episode all around building community via SpeakPipe. That's going to come up soon here on the How to Podcast series, but I just want to say thank you to you. I work full time. I work nights, so I go in tonight. I work last night. I've had a couple hours sleep this morning, and now I'm podcasting. But I couldn't afford to upgrade my SpeakPipe, so I was just using the free plan. But because of you and your support, I now have enough money to pay for the year of SpeakPipe. So I'm just taking anything that I get in from you as a listener and then reinvesting it so that I can do more with my community. So your gifts are making an impact to the show. And I think that's the one thing as listeners we don't realize if we don't have a podcast, how much things cost and how much time it takes. And I think the other thing is podcasters, we don't think to support others because we're so focused on our own show. So I would love to reinvest this money that's coming to me through your donations, and I would like to gift it back to other podcasters as well to help support them. So what I'd love to hear from you is on my howtopodcast.ca website. there's my SpeakPipe, which we're talking about. I would love for you to go in, leave me a message about your show, the name of your show, your name, what your show's about, but then also say the name of your Buy Me a Coffee link and put that in your voice message. So it'd be buymeacoffee.com/TrueMediaCA. That's mine. buymeacoffee.com/TrueMediaCA. Because that's my True Media Solutions Canada. That's my website for all of my podcasts. So again, that's buymeacoffee.com/TrueMediaCA. So when you do that, this is what I would love to hear. Okay? Call into SpeakPipe, and this is what I want you to do. Hi, my name is Dave. I'm the host of the How to Podcast series. It's a podcast to help new and existing podcasters grow and be better at podcasting in a judgment-free zone where you are encouraged to share your voice. You can find me at howtopodcast.ca, and my podcast is available everywhere. And if you want to support my show, my Buy Me a Coffee link is buymeacoffee.com/TrueMediaCA. Thanks, Dave. And that's it. That's what I need. I need you to do that over on SpeakPipe. Again, now powered by you, a listener of the show. I truly appreciate it. And I think as podcasters, we can all do better to support each other. And I think the other thing is a lot of people don't understand that podcasting does cost money, time, effort. There's so much that goes into creating a podcast. And a saying that I've heard many, many times is you do not have because you did not ask. So if you're thinking, Dave, I really need help to pay for all the things that go along with podcasting, then ask. Put it out there to your audience and let them know. And that's what I'm doing here is if you donate to the podcast, I can buy my wife some flowers because she has to put up with Dave in the basement a lot. And I would love to be able to spoil my wife. So buying her dinner or getting her some flowers, that's what I would love to do with any donation that comes in through the podcast. So buymeacoffee.com/TrueMediaCA is where to go. And what's going to happen is I'm going to be doing a 5-episode mini-series. Again, we did the Appleseed series. I hope you listened to all 10 episodes of that little mini-series. But we're also going to be doing a 5-episode mini-series on how to make money with your podcast the easy way. And I promise you, we're not going to be selling mattresses or supplements or coffee made from mushrooms. We are going to be doing something different. And I'm going to put out to you some very simple things that you may or may not have considered. It might be a reminder or it might be new information for you as you look at funding your podcast. Now, this isn't money to buy a bigger yacht. This isn't money to buy that Bentley you always had your eye on. This is money that, again, can give your partner flowers, a date night, put some gas in the car, that kind of money. As podcasters, we could use any support we can get. And I think the moment you start seeing some of that money coming in from your amazing community, you're going to realize that your impact is really, really strong and wide. And your community wants to support you. They love you. And they want your podcast to continue. They want you to succeed. Because if you succeed, your listener will succeed. And you put out great quality stuff. You don't create stuff that you wouldn't be proud of. And you deserve to make something back for that. And I'm going to give you some things in this five mini-series episode that I think you haven't considered before as payment. Okay? There are many books on this. We're going to distill that right down and give you a very unbiased, easy thing to focus on as far as creating some income around your podcast. I know you're curious, so that's going to start soon here, and it's all going to be part of our November release. So you're going to get all 5 episodes in a row, and I hope you're ready because it's going to be fun. Okay, we'll talk soon. I'm going to leave you off with some of my voice messages from SpeakPipe. These are listeners. These are friends of the show, and I love listening to these voice messages. I listen to them over and over and over and over, but I wanted to share some voices from the audience here with you on the How to Podcast series. So here are some of my friends. Are you ready? Here we go.
Hey Dave, it's Vicky. I'm just stopping by on Saturday night to tell you that I keep thinking about you and I love the podcast that we did and I can't wait to connect with you again. And also, I can't find your donation page or section. I wanted to buy you some more coffee and I also wanted to give you a little something for the podcast that we created together. I'm just thinking about you and so grateful. I hope you're doing well. And believe me, I was just as moved by being with you as you were with me.
Hi, Dave. This is Anthony. I'm really stoked and I wanted to share something with you. You know, based on our Zoom call that I've got a lot of stuff going on. I'm renaming my podcast. So there's some admin and some tech and website and email address, blah, blah, blah. I was driving down the road today and of course had you on my speakers and I came across your Daily Dave for 18th of October, 2023. Here's a snippet of what I heard.
Overthinking and planning, endlessly planning your podcast. Oh, I got to get the artwork just right. Have you recorded anything?
Have you recorded anything? So I took care of my errands and then I went to set up my studio. I'll share that with you another time because I'm limited to 90 seconds, but just go to your episode number 60 and your interview with Fritz and you'll know what kind of studio I'm talking about. I got all the recording done so that I can update my 6 currently released episodes as well as the next 2.5 episodes of my upcoming podcast, all done. I need to do the editing, but I've got all the recording done. I'm looking forward to our next Zoom call and whatever else we can collaborate on as well. Thank you so much for your wisdom and all that you've shared with me and all of your other listeners. And that's a wrap.
Hey, Dave. Okay, this is Whitney. I just listened to episode 115, and thank you for the tips because you raised some suggestions that I had not thought of, specifically reaching out to my audience to see if they have any skills that they would like to volunteer. I've been back and forth about that in general because I like the idea of getting a student or somebody who is actually trying to learn and where that's the benefit to them is learning about audio mixing or whatever. So anyways, appreciate that. You had asked in your episode about a call to action. I would say my call to action that I would want people to do, or that I do want people to do, is to share the episode with one other person. If they like the episode, if it resonates with them, I want them to share it with somebody that they think may appreciate it as well. And the show, as you know, is Impostrix Podcast, and we affirm and validate professionals of color who navigate imposter syndrome and racial toxicity at work. Thanks, Dave.
First off, this is so freaking cool that you can actually send a voice message through podcast app. Excellent. How are you? I've been listening to your podcast and learning so much. It's really boosting my self-esteem, confidence, the whole deal. I started a podcast about a month ago, and it has been one of the most enriching and I absolutely enjoy it. It is catharsis. It is a journey of adventure. and I love it. So I just want to say a shout out to you for just being who you are and being so authentic and helpful and just so generous with your time, efforts, and everything else. All the very best. Take care. This is PT. Over and out. Hello, Dave. I just listened to the message. I didn't even realize that you did that on Friday. I'm all the way at the bottom listening from the first, well, kind of in chronological order, the way I'm listening to your podcast. So I didn't even happen upon what you did. I don't know what to say. I was amazed. It's one of the most beautiful things that have happened to me for the year. I must tell you that. And so I'm about to leave a message on one of your, because I don't think you're seeing the messages, because you might have to do because I've never sent you a message before. But anyways, I will send you a comment and let you know that there's a message in there waiting for you, like a little present. Okay, take care. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Hi, Dave. This is David Beckmeyer. We met on the podcast Hangout group, where I learned about the NaPodPoMo. I think I got that right. And I'm doing it. I started a subsection within Substack. I'm calling the new show, so it has a separate RSS feed. And I'm calling the new show, which will be bites about my other show or companion podcast, and I'm calling it Outrage Science Bites. So I'm going to post some kind of a bite-sized episode every day for the month of November, and we'll see what happens after the month of November, but that's what I'm going to do for the month of November. So I'm calling it Outrage Science Bites, and it's a companion podcast to my main podcast, Outrage Overload. So, hey, thanks for the heads up. I'm going to go check it out.
Hello, this is Anthony with the Have You Ever Wondered What Happened podcast. Hi, Dave. I'm reaching out to you based on your podcast, the How To Podcast series. I love your show. It's a daily part of my commute and has been instrumental in the launch of my podcast, the Have You Ever Wondered What Happened podcast. I've got it on Spotify and Amazon right now. I will be expanding that out to include iTunes and all those other things that you recommend in your series. But I thought I'd stop over. I've heard you talk about SpeakPipe, so I thought I'd pop on over and say hello, invite you over to listen to my show, and maybe we could coordinate that I could either interview you on my show or maybe I could be a co-host on yours. But either way, thank you for your podcast. I really appreciate it. Like I said, been a daily part of my listen on my commute and instrumental in the production of my podcast. Have a wonderful day and a better tomorrow.
Hey, David, I just want to thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And it's wonderful to have people like you who support writers that aren't necessarily super duper popular. Anyway, thank you so much, and I wish you the best in the next year, or this coming year, I should say. Thank you. Bye.
Hey, Dave, this is Elizabeth O'Byrne in Oxford, Ohio. I just wanted to tell you how much I'm enjoying your podcast series. I live in a small college town. We used to have a fabulous newspaper called the Oxford Press when I was growing up. It came out every Friday. It had the news of the town. It was a big read. You could see everything that was happening. Rotary, Kiwanis, the Lions Club, who got engaged, who was getting married, what was happening in the city, what was happening at the university. All kinds of information of interest to the community that pulled us all together. We don't have that anymore. Instead, we have all of these individual Facebook pages, that have a political slant, or the university has their own newspaper that focuses on university activities. And this idea of the podcast just came to me about a week ago.
Hi, Dave. It's Isla. Thank you again for having me on the show. I just listened to it, and I have to say it was an amazing chat. It was deep. It was authentic. It was exactly what I wanted for us to have. And so I want to thank you for creating this platform and for what you do on a day in and day out. It truly makes such a big impact, and it's going to change many, many lives. I wish you much success with the podcasts, and I trust that we're gonna get to talk again. All right, have a wonderful day, and keep up the amazing work that you're doing.
Hello, Dave. It's Debbie McCullough calling. We met on the West Midlands Podcast Club. I have my podcast, Older and Bolder, and I have checked out your podcast, the How to Podcast series. I've checked out a few of your episodes, and I've really enjoyed them. So I just wanted to reach out to you, and I hope we connect again soon. We were the two lone Canadians in that podcast club Zoom connection, and I really enjoyed getting to know you and the others. So thank you for all of your great input and your expertise in podcasting. Hope to hear from you soon, Dave. Bye-bye.
Hi, Dave. It's Krista Spaeth. I hope you are doing amazing. I was just listening to your latest episode on the How to Podcast series and about the amount of episodes that people get downloaded off their podcasts. So my biggest surprise is I just ranked last week, actually in Mexico. An episode ranked from last week and my podcast ranked. I was like ranked 38 for both the episode and the podcast, which is crazy because I don't even speak Spanish. I then turned around and actually invited a girlfriend of mine who's from South America, and she came in and she spoke in Spanish because I was like, I have to reach out to these listeners in their native language. I was so tickled pink and excited. And also surprised to have listeners in Australia and, of course, all over the United States. But my biggest question is I don't know how to really get the right access to the right amount of downloads. I'm guaranteed that Spotify, who's the host for my podcast, is not doing it right.
Hey Dave, it's Rachel from Australia. I saw your voicemail. I was so excited to hear from you. Thank you so much for replying. It's so nice to think that some of the words or encouragement we give someone has made a bit of a difference in their day. And then you made an episode about me. I went straight to my computer as soon as you said that on the voice message reply and had to listen to it straight away. I was like bright red. I was so embarrassed. That's so lovely. Thank you so much. And then, of course, I'm listening to my own voice as you're playing it over your episode and cringing at it, which is, I'm sure, pretty common when you listen to yourself back on audio. So I've just smitten as. Thank you so much. This has made my day now. I've been on cloud nine ever since. It's such a lovely support to have a shout out from you. Thank you so much. And of course, I would come and co-host an episode with you. Oh my goodness, that would be amazing. I'm learning so much, and I would love to, I don't know, be a guest, and maybe you could help me with some words of wisdom and maybe my, starting from scratch and just giving things a try, even though it's all rough and ready, might help someone else start their own podcast too. So for sure I would. That would be amazing. Thank you again. That's so sweet of you. I'm just smitten as. It was so much fun listening to you talk about me on your podcast. Thanks, Dave.
I would like to take this time to thank you, Dave, for all the work that you do as a podcaster. Note that we are watching you and we see you and so appreciate you. Keep going, doing the awesome work that you are doing. Namaste. Om.
Hello, Dave. I'm so glad that you had me on your miraculous and awesome podcast. I am looking forward to being on with you again soon. And I just wanted to stop by and say, you rock, Dave.
Hey Dave, I'm Paulo from Brazil and I'd like to thank you very much for helping me finally decided to make my own podcast. I want to make some episodes to help students who are studying English here in Brazil. The studies of English here are very poor, and our students have many problems with it. So I decided to help who want and who need some help. Thank you, because since I've found your podcast in the Spotify, I decided to do it, and it's my dream, and I want to have something in my life that I can use to help people who need.
Hi, Dave. I just listened to your most recent episode and wanted to leave you a voice message. Thank you so much for your podcast. It really gave me the push I needed to start my own podcast, which I did about 2 months ago. And I'm really enjoying it way more than I thought I would. And it hasn't been nearly as scary as I thought either. My name's Rachel, and I'm leaving you a voice message from the bottom of Australia. So thanks heaps. I always enjoy listening to you, and I really love your podcast. And thanks for giving me the push to start my own.
So that's just a little taste of some of the messages that have come in through SpeakPipe. And again, because of you, now we've opened it up and we've gone past the 90-second free version of SpeakPipe, and we can now accept longer messages. So if you would like your voice on the podcast, if you'd like to be part of the How to Podcast family, again, we're more than just pals here. We're family. I would love to have your voice here on the podcast. Promote your show, answer your questions, get your feedback. Tell us if there's an episode that really resonates with you and why. Shout out your show. Let people know what your podcast is, how they could find it. Get new listeners. Do it using this audience. We want to support you, and we'd love to hear from you. Now, I know there's people listening to this, and you've heard me say this many times, and you haven't done it yet. I'm talking to you. I want to hear your voice. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the How to Podcast series. Go to howtopodcast.ca, click the little microphone, hit record, and leave a message. I love, love, love to hear your voice here on the podcast. And I will make a little mini episode for you and promote your show and whatever I can do to help you. And if you need time to just sit and chat about podcasting with someone who's doing this, I would love to do that as well. If you want to practice being a guest on an interview, and you just want to practice being the host of an interview podcast, I will be your practice guest and work with you on that. If you need help with your website, if you need help with connecting your podcast to YouTube, if you need help getting your podcast on different players besides just Spotify or just Apple or just YouTube, and you're looking for some help and wisdom, again, this is completely a judgment-free area. I would love to help you. If you want to learn how to use Audacity and do your own recording and keep your money in your pocket instead of paying someone else, I will show you how to use Audacity. There's so many great things coming up. Again, our new 5-part series on making money with your podcast is coming here in November. I would love for you to check that out. Share that out with other podcasters you know of who are struggling to make money with their podcast. Great things ahead. And I really want to just say thank you to you and to all the people who have left me messages so far. I really appreciate you. And this podcast is for you. This is why I'm doing this. And anything I can do to support you now or in the future, I'm here for you. Okay? I would love to connect with you. howtopodcast.ca. Thank you for being part of the How to Podcast family. Catch you on the next episode. Hey, it's Dave jumping on here at the end. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for listening to the How to Podcast series. Putting this out there for you. You're starting a podcast and you're like, Dave, the technology is giving me a headache. This editing thing is, I don't know. It's banana pants. I can't figure it all out. And you're thinking, if there was somebody who could help me with my podcast, I would pay them to do the editing for me. Guess what? I'm actually doing that. I have clients now. past guests who've been on the show on one of my other podcasts, on this podcast. I'm doing some podcast consulting. I'm doing podcast editing. I'm helping with people launching their podcast, getting it, all the technology stuff, getting your podcast in all the players, helping you with your YouTube channel, your website. Oh, it just goes on and on. It goes on and on. And I would love to help you. So instead of going to Fiverr or Upwork, I've been on there. I keep trying to get on for jobs and nobody's paying attention to me, and I need attention. I would rather work with you as a listener of the show. So here's what I'm saying. Go to howtopodcast.ca, leave me a voice message, tell me what you need, and let's work out something that works for you and your budget. And if you need full service or you just need something quick like a drive-through type service, I'm there for you. I got you. And if you like what you hear on any of my 7 podcasts, I can do that for you. I can. And I'd love to work with you because you are amazing. And I'm there to help you, whatever you need. howtopodcast.ca. Reach out, let me know what I can do to help you with your podcast. Thank you for listening. Catch you on the next episode. Take care.